Can I just say that I am incredibly excited about what's about to happen? Jason, you with me?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good. Just want to make sure you're paying attention over there. All right. Hey, we've got a short panel coming up next that we're going to talk a few things. And I'd like to introduce from the Aspen Institute, Risa Isard. She is a Duke graduate. There would have been a connection had Grant Hill been here, but there's not because I could care less about Duke, to be honest with you. But she's going to come. That's not true. Come on. I love Duke, all right? She's a Duke graduate, cum laude. She graduated from there and went off to work in Major League Baseball, working for the Fresno Grizzlies. That's a farm club for the San Francisco Giants. And she is now, let me read this because I got in trouble before. She's the program associate for the Aspen Institute Sport and Society program, and she's the co-author of the Project Play and Physical Literacy Report. She was also the women's manager at the women's basketball manager at Duke University. Along with her, she's bringing up someone that you all know and who has contributed significantly to sport and to our society writ large. Billie Jean and I were talking backstage, and I said, of all the things that you have in your bio, what would you like me to address? And she said, talk about what I've done in terms of leadership in sport. As you all know, we started this morning talking about exactly that. Leadership in sport, leadership in society, and helping our community. So please welcome not only Risa Isard, but Miss Billie Jean King.
Yeah, we already lost minutes here. Mark, I should have saluted. Sorry. Wait a minute, you're supposed to not show the palm, I guess.
Thanks so much to everyone for joining us. As Mark said, my name is Risa Isard. I'm a program associate for the Aspen Institute Sports and Society program. We're really excited for these next conversations, and I have to say I'm particularly excited for this conversation, not just because I'm up here, but because I've long admired Billie Jean King and the other women like her who paved the way for me to have a life in which I could grow up as an athlete. They inspired me to design my own major in college on social change, culture, and sport, and to author a 150-page honors thesis on the prehistory and early years of Title IX.
Excellent. Whoa.
Billie Jean King once said that pressure is a privilege, and I can promise you that over the last week I've reminded myself of that because there's a lot of pressure here today, but there's also really no greater privilege than to have the honor of welcoming Billie Jean King to the 2016 Project Play Summit. Billie Jean King was originally a tennis champion. She won 39 Grand Slams, including 20 Wimbledons. She was named Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year and Time Person of the Year. But backstage, like she told Mark, she told me she doesn't really care about that stuff. What she wants to talk about and what she cares about is what she's done off the court. And ultimately, it's what she's done off the court, using her status as the world's #1 tennis player to become a civil rights champion, leading to her being honored with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Presently, she's also a member of the President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition. So, let's get started.
Let's go, Risa. Whoa. First of all, congratulations on your legacy so far. You're just getting started.
Stand on the shoulder of giants, I promise you.
Well, you're the future, so it's great to be with you.
Thank you. So you've spoken often about the fact that if there weren't a community recreation program accessible to you, you probably never would have tried tennis in the first place. We wouldn't be sitting here. Can you talk about those early experiences?
Well, first, I grew up in Long Beach, California, and my brother and I were park rats. You know, that was where we had access. That's where we had opportunity. And I played all team sports, and then a friend in 5th grade, Susan Williams, asked me, do you want to play tennis? And I said, what's tennis? And she says, you're kidding, right? And I said, no, I'm not. What do? She says, you get to run, jump, and hit a ball. And I go, that sounds like my most 3 favorite things. I'll try it with her. So I tried it with her. She played at a country club, though, and I thought, well, there's no way I'm going to play. So we're playing softball because we're playing team sports. And she told, she's gone to the coach at softball. I took Billie out to play tennis. And Val Halloran, the coach, said, well, they have free instruction here every Tuesday at Houghton Park. I went, I'm there. So the first time I went out, I met Clyde Walker, and I think first experience is huge. If you think back of each of your own situation, and I know when I've coached players, I always ask them about what's your first memory of tennis, for instance, and it's absolutely important, I can tell you, a lot of the times. I had a great experience. I loved Clyde Walker. Right off the bat, I just thought he was the coolest, greatest. He was quite elderly then. He was probably in his late 50s. And I just loved him. And at the end of that day, I knew I wanted to be the #1 tennis player in the world. And my poor mother and dad and my younger brother said, sure. You know, I said, no, this is it. I found out what I'm going to do with my life. And then at 12, I had an epiphany where I thought about my sport, and I realized everybody wore white shoes, white socks, white clothes, and played with white balls, and everybody who played was white. So at 12, I asked myself, where's everybody else? And that started me thinking about tennis and beyond. And that day was the moment I dedicated the rest of my life to equal rights and opportunities for all. And that was that moment of truth. But I knew the reason I would have that opportunity is I had a platform, and it happened to be tennis, and tennis is global, just like soccer and some other sports. And that was I thought about that. I thought, that's going to be a major gift that the sport has given me. So just so you understand why I've done what I've done with my life, now you have a much clearer appreciation because of that epiphany at 12. Sorry it took so much time, but it teased it up.
No, I think that's terrific. So you knew from an early age that becoming #1 in the world wasn't necessarily about becoming #1 in the world, but was about what you could do for the world with
Correct.
that.
That was the secondary part. The first part was wanting to change the world, yeah.
Absolutely.
Make it a better place.
So you talk about the importance of access.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you in the audience, you all received a copy of the State of Play report, a draft of it. And one of the stats in there that we point out is the gap between income and the disparity there. What was that like in your experience and your reflections on those statistics that, let's say, 38% of people from, kids from homes making less than $25,000 a year play sports compared to 67% of kids from homes that make over $100,000 a year.
Money always equals opportunity. That's why I wanted us to make a living in our sport. Money equals opportunity. Also, who cares for you as a person who raises you as a child? It could be a grandparent, it can be a caregiver, it can be two parents, it can be same gender parent. It can, it runs the gamut today. But it's very, very difficult to make ends meet today and for most families. And I know for us it was a struggle, and my dad was a firefighter. So, and you have to understand, my younger brother, Randy Moffat, was a professional baseball player for 12 years. In fact, he played for the Fresno Grizzlies back before he went up to the majors. So he and I, without the opportunity and having free instruction, and my parents never paid for a racket. These are huge expenses. And if you take other sports, it even costs a lot more. We have to find a way to have access and opportunity for everyone. And a lot of it starts at home, school, faith-based, all these things, but it's usually about a person. If Susan Williams, it's about relationships. If Susan Williams had asked me, you just need one person who believes in you, just one, that loves you unconditionally, you can make it. So there's got to be a way we have to influence. I don't really know. What are you finding works to get the kids who come from families at 25,000? And I find those families actually have 2 and 3 jobs. So they have less time to give to their children. So we have to get our schools. We're going to have very few schools that want to give physical education. That was a huge part of my life. We had our hour of physical education every day, 0 to 60, let's go. So those are the things that are important, and we're just not getting that anymore. And schools always think about the brain, but they don't think about the physical education part or the movement. It's about moving. And so I don't know. Do you have any answers on this? I really don't know, seriously, because it drives me crazy. And the Women's Sports Foundation, which I founded in '74, people a lot of times forget about the girls. And don't forget about the girls, because girls are the mothers of the children, and most of the time, a lot of the time, it's the mother that encourages their child to do something and also make sure that they get there. So that's major. And a lot of children can't get transportation, even though let's say there's a park. That's why you want to have parks. Like in New York, Cortona Park, there's 47 schools walking distance to that park. That's huge. Now, the other question, is it safe? Safety is important. So all these things are, what have you found?
Yeah, well, it's interesting that you bring up, the idea of walking distance. we know that if you live within a mile of a park, you are 4 times more likely to access that park than if you live farther than that. So that's huge. And the safety piece of that too, right? So I think going back to your point about how are we reaching kids where they are, is that through the schools or is that through other youth serving organizations? And then how are we making sure that there is access, walkable access and active transportation to those locations, I think is really critical, and it eliminates some of the barriers of other kinds of transportation, let's say, or parents having to get, or guardians having to get kids there.
Because I don't think my brother and I actually probably had a park that was walking distance.
Yeah.
But my mother, neighbors, the other kids who played tennis, the other parents that were struggling, we'd all try to figure it out together, and it was hard.
Yeah.
You know, I'd always pack my lunch to go to the tournaments. I couldn't afford to buy something. It was, you know, it was. And my dad made me get my first racket. He wouldn't even buy it for me. He wanted to see how much I really loved it. And that's delayed gratification, and you know how tough that is on this generation. I mean, if they don't get it instantaneously, it's tough. I think sports is unbelievable in teaching you self-awareness, resiliency, how to provide for yourself and be resourceful if you use it properly. I'm not talking about the pros now, but I think the professional leagues have a duty. I can tell you I own the Philadelphia Freedoms in team tennis, and where there's a hunting park, which has been in total disarray the last 25, 30 years. It used to be very in place. But look, here's what's happened. Okay, you've got the grassroots, you've got the park. The neighborhood, it was not in good shape. So here's what happened. You had the Park and Rec, you had the USTA, which is their section Middle States, you have the Phillies, you have the Eagles, you have the soccer team, the Union, you have us, which is the Philadelphia Freedom, which I own. All get together. Didn't get together to do it, but we all contributed, whether it be a baseball field, whether it be a football field, whether it be for soccer as well. We built playgrounds. And by improving, and we refurbished the courts, we give it programming, we gave free rackets, we've given over 350,000 rackets through team tennis. It's not just the racket, what do you do with them once they have the racket? You have to have people. You have to have people that are there. Relationships are everything. If I didn't have Clyde and only had the courts, I never would have gone on the court. So you need people. So what we've done is we've improved Hunting Park so much. And Mayor Kinney, who we just had a meeting, and also Mayor Nutter before that in Philadelphia, what's happened is that area is now become safer, and crime is down 89%. Okay, and the kids are moving, and I have parents, mostly are Hispanic, and is it Latino or Latina? I'm sorry if I don't get it politically correct. I never know what I'm doing on that one. I've got all three. African Americans, all these families are coming over to us saying, you have no idea by what just having these facilities, making the park safe again is so wonderful for my family, and my child is exercising again. I'm exercising. We're coming together. These are amazing things that happen. But who made this happen? People. It's all about the people. Look at Michelle Obama. Oh my God, when she came out with the Let's Move program, I cannot tell you, that was one of the most exciting days of my life, and I'll tell you why. Every First Lady before our First Lady Obama or Michelle Obama, it was very important what they emphasized. I'm not ever discounting what they did, but here's somebody that understands it's the whole being, the holistic part of us. And she understands Let's Move. She understands how important exercise and nutrition and fitness is to the well-being of this country. I mean, we're at a security risk because we can't even get through the boot camp. We go to pre-boot camp to get through boot camp. That hurts our national security even. So when Michelle Obama came out with this, I cannot tell you, I was telling people, she gets it. This one is the first one, because I've always gotten upset with some of the others. Like, don't you understand we have to keep moving? My mother always told us, my brother and me, if you don't keep moving, it's over. So it's like, I'm so happy and being on the President's Council and being there with her in this Let's Movements program. And look at her gardens, with the nutrition. It's just, she gets it. Yeah. Because the kids are going to do better in school. Yeah. They know now scientifically when a kid works out 20 minutes vigorously before a big exam, the poor kids in particular do a grade and a half better. So these are things, it's about the academics. It's about everything. It's in everything, and I cannot tell you how happy I am that I was in sports my whole life. I'm telling you, it gave me everything. You know, my parents, my brother's great. You know, he went on to play 12 years in the majors. I mean, we look at each other, and my parents didn't care, by the way. And today I find we either have helicopter parents or we don't have any encouragement. Have you found that, or am I crazy? I'm like one extreme to the other. I mean, I'm like, we need some moderation here. But my parents hardly ever went to our games to watch the competition part. They worried more about education, health, and if they keep us busy, we'll stay out of drugs and bad. It will keep us away from doing bad things. So Randy and I were always so tired every night. Randy Moffat, Moffat's my birth name. So we would be so tired. It kept us out of trouble. And so I think my parents had it right. But my parents, they didn't go to, we're very lucky. We had two parents that loved each other, worked together as a team. And you know, we got lucky, but most kids, a lot of kids do not have that. I've listened to children that don't have that situation. So we have to suck it up and find ways to help them, because the potential is there. These kids want to lead. They want to be in sports. They want to do something with their lives. And the millennial kids are fantastic because they do want to make a difference in this world. They do. They're amazing. So
yeah,
I'd love to be a millennial.
It's all right. It's all right.
Is it all right?
It's all right.
You're the one. You're the it. Go ahead.
But, no, so I mean,
Down
we
there.
have just a little bit of time left before we bring up First Lady Michelle Obama, and you've given her, you know, the best introduction
good.
of I think anyone. So that was great. But I mean, in listening to what you're saying and in processing and in thinking about what that has to do with what we're doing here, you're talking about teamwork, right? And everyone pitching in, and maybe
Yes.
collective impact is what we call it today,
Yes.
right? Doing what you can where you can, and
Correct.
And the importance of coaches and having coaches or mentors.
Yeah, we don't have enough women coaches, by the way. I'm sorry to say, you guys, do not forget the girls and the women. We are half of the population. In fact, I think we're a little bit over the half. I'm serious. We're forgotten. You're in panels and different things. When I go through the world, through life, we get like a token mention, and it's not right. I want you to start everything I did with my life. Just think about equal rights and opportunities for all. And I'm telling you, girls are still forgotten. So please, just as you leave today, I want you to just put it that inclusion is absolutely imperative. And President Obama has been amazing on inclusion. I will always be indebted to him for including like the LGBT community. I mean,
Yeah.
these two people together, Michelle, what a team. They kind of remind me of my parents a little, actually.
No, so
I don't know if Mrs. Robinson's here, but she was
Here she
great.
is.
Oh, you're there. We had the best time at the U.S. Open. I'm telling you, she was great. We had a great time.
that's great.
Anyway, it's great to see you. Anyway, you did a good job with your children. And then you've got your boy here, right? Isn't Craig going to be here?
Yeah, Craig will be up next. So,
Coach.
so thank you so much, Billie Jean, for sharing with us what you've learned about building social movement.
Thanks. We went all over the place.